So I'm going to just go ahead and get started, and I'm going to dive right in and show you guys this software. Like I said, it's been a very exciting journey, 3 years of development, and I just want to give you a little bit of background. The programmer who has programmed all this is an SE5 practitioner, and I think that's what's going to be the biggest difference between the old software and the new software. Now, the old software, I had it designed in India, and they did a really good job. I mean, considering that they didn't have a clue what we were doing, but I was able to get the software working, connected with the SE5. This was in 2010 and 11, probably 2011. And then when I met Zenon, he, as an SE5 practitioner at one of my seminars, he said, you know, I'm also a programmer. And so he's the one that has fixed up the old software and kept it running because it's, you know, it's doing really well, but it's dated. You can tell it's dated. And as we've added more features and more things like the PSD and things like that, the old software is, we're always having to try to keep up with it. But I mean, it's still very good software. I know you guys have all been using it for 8 or 10, 12 years. And I still use it. It's still very good. But as I'm getting transitioned over to the new software, I'm finding we're in a whole different ballpark now. I mean, it's just so much easier. It's faster. You can do analysis way faster. It's easier to use. It's easier to track your clients. You've got more information you can put in about each of your clients, and you can track the log. You can check for each session that you've run to see if it actually completed or if it partially completed. There are just a whole lot of features in the new software that make it just easier to use and more functional for what we do as practitioners. The one thing I want to bring up right at the beginning is that this is not really an upgrade to your old software. In other words, this is a completely different software. And so I don't suggest that you try to bring all your old sessions into the new software. You can bring all your clients, and I'll show you that we do that, where we can import the clients. But I would kind of start fresh with your clients as you're making a new session, go with the new software, and then build from there. Just because there are some more other features, and also it's a little time consuming to bring over sessions. It's not terrible, but you have more flexibility and more interconnectedness with the new software with your new sessions, which you'll see as we get going. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Oh, there's a chat button. Here we go. Raise hand is under reactions, the smiley face. Oh, okay. Ah, I see, reaction, smiley face. And then I can say, okay, you see that? Okay, very good. Thank you so much. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and go right to the software. And there we are. So this is the look of the new software, the interface. So it's very different than the old software. And I'm going to show you here at the bottom, first thing, review device list. Now, normally when you start your software, it's going to count how many units are connected. I'm going to click on it right now. And it's showing that my precision stick detector is not connected. So I'm going to turn on my precision stick detector. And now it's going to find that one as well. So you can do this on the fly. That's why I'm showing you this as opposed to starting it from scratch, is that if you want to unplug something and plug something back in, it will go back and redetect that other instrument. Now you might notice that I have the precision stick detector here, as well as the SE5 and the BOI. I mean, let's do it the other way around. I've got the precision stick detector connected with the SE5 1000 and the BOI. And the reason for that is that we can actually run the SE5 and the BOI from the same software. And that's where it gets really interesting. Okay, let's go back to settings and see if that did anything with the PSD. There we go. I'm going to lock my sensitivity, and I go through how to set up the PSD in the training software so that you can see it step by step how I do that. Okay, let's go try this again. Let's save the settings when I lock it and close this window. Okay, let's try this again. So this time I'm going to update a session. It probably didn't save anything because I didn't put any tunings in, so I don't have it yet. Let's go back and do a new session again. Choose my database. Come on. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here to the intake clearances, and now my graph is running down here. I will see what happens. Take a reading, and then I get the beep, and I don't know if you can see this. Oh, that one, it stopped right on the number. But one thing that I've noticed here is that if I keep turning after the beep, you see I'm up to 24.6. Yeah, that didn't work. It stopped it at 3.7, and I kept turning it on purpose, and it moved down to the next level. So it locks the amplitude here and then moves you down to the next level. I'll try energy purity. That's 99. Interference A. Interference C. D. Looking pretty good. And then general vitality. Let's see where my general vitality is. Oh, barriers rapport. Let's do that once more. Okay. See where my general vitality is today. Yeah, that's pretty normal for me, 95. Now you notice the waveform locks at the peak of resonance here, and then it goes to the next level, and then it only releases once you start dialing your knob. So once you change the amplitude knob, that releases the PSD graph. 98's pretty good. Okay, so now we're ready to move over and do some testing. This is something I wanted to describe to you. If you have the SE5 2000, you'll have a button here that says menu. If you have the SE5 1000, it says delete. So in the old software, that button works to delete things. But in the new software, it uses that button to go to the next menu, which is over here, the initial tests. So I press that. In my case, it says delete on it because it doesn't have the newer buttons on it. And now I'm over here so that when I change the knob, then it will work on this level, on the level of the programs. So I'm going to just go into the subtle balance program without measuring it. I'm going to double click on that and just check a few of these tunings like aligned chakras and oral balance, autotoxicity, balance, blockages. So I think at this point you can probably see how much faster this is than the old software, because every time I get the reading, then there's one that's a bit lower. it goes right to the next one and puts it into the session for you. Yeah. So that's the basic idea. You guys all know how to do that in the normal software. This is just much faster and more accurate because it locks in the resonance peak. As soon as you get that resonance peak, it locks it and puts it into the session, even if you keep turning further. And that's one thing that I really like about this new software. Let's see if there's anything else in this window that's... there's some really cool things here. So the tunings, that's where I'm at right now, is tunings. You can also see subprograms and programs. Now, I didn't measure the program or the subprogram, but I could. But they always will lock the tunings together with the subprograms and the program. So if I go to a different program, these are the arrows to go back and forth. And you can also use the close button on your SE5. Let's check some non-positive IDF patterns. And I'll just check some of these things. And what'll happen is that you'll see that it adds them, but we'll add them to the tuning level. See, it switched back to the tuning level for me automatically. See if there's anything in here. They're all pretty low. Oh, good. My psychiatric one wasn't so bad. I always concerned about my psyche. Musculoskeletal, that's doing better too. I was having some issues a few months ago in the spinal level. Okay, well, we got a bunch of stuff in there. Now you're going to see now we've got non-positive IDF patterns and subtle balance programs. And we've got the same thing in this case, the same thing in the program level. Now, what's really cool about this is if you want to change the order of your programs of where you want things to balance, you can just move them. You click on them and drag them, and that changes everything. It moves the subprograms, and it also moves all the tunings. So it moved all of these at the same time. And you can also go to explore mode and see all of this at the same time. Move this out of the way a little bit. And so, for example, if I put the subtle balance programs back up top, then it moves everything. Same thing if I do that in the subprogram level, it'll move everything below that as well. So it's all tied together now. You don't lose track of which tunings come from which program or subprogram. Okay, what else is in here? There's a lot of fun stuff in here, but we'll come back to word tunings, but this is your word tuning area. So everything's in the same window, but you also have like the word tuning level. But this is pretty cool because I think I'll show you one. We'll just make a new one here. So let's say I want to do a new word tuning. And I'm going to put in the description, new word tuning, whatever that is. Now, if I want to get a tuning for that, the tuning scanner is right here. And so I click on that, and this over here, it comes up with a frequency tuning for it. And it says, do you want to keep this? Now, if it's a positive tuning, it'll put a plus in front of it. And if it's not, in this case, it was negative because it was checked off that way, then it won't put the plus in front of it. So I say yes, and it adds it. You see new word tuning, and I had done that once before, I guess. And it'll show you then that new thing. So every description that word tuning that you put in here, it will find a tuning for you. You can also put notes in. And let's make this a little bit bigger. There we go. You can resize these windows so you get a little more space. You can also balance directly from this window here. So let's say I wanted to do whatever, this one, eliminating, remove blockages from eliminating a virus, for example. If I just wanted to balance that one thing, I can click balance and it will immediately send it to the SE5 and turn on the balancing. But you might want to set up your timing. You'll need to do that. So normally I would measure for that, find out how many seconds I should get. And in this particular window, it is not connected to the amplitude, so you'll have to manually type these in. This was a very, very complex thing. So we'll say 5 seconds on that one. And number of cycles. So 3 cycles. And then you save that. And when I go click on balance, then it will balance that over here. You see, it's went into the balance mode, and then it'll balance that particular tuning. Oh, you notice that I have a word tuning in here. For the highest good, eliminate crashes in software. So I also use the SE5 when we're in development to help put this together and keep it working. So that's pretty good. So I noticed it went down on the one that I was on, a different one that I was clicking on. You got a little progress bar here, but you can also do what's called batch mode. As soon as this is done, we'll go into batch mode. There we go, it's done. You can go into batch mode and you could select like 3 of these different things and then go into balance, and it'll balance one after the other after the other. So it's kind of like a miniature little session just for word tunings, which is pretty cool. The other thing you can do, of course, is add those word tunings to your sessions. So I had added these into the, when I did the measurement, it added them also into my session. So you can balance them and or put them into the session. You can put many of them into the session too if you want. So if I wanted to put those in there and I click on selected only, when I do that, it puts all of those in there that I selected. Now this is very similar in terms of programs. Let's say we wanted to do a different database now. And we go back to turn the word tunings off, and I'm in a different database. Let's say I wanted to add like a program to all of this. Let me go to the add-on programs actually. If I wanted to do like an entire balancing of a program and add it to my session, all I have to do is highlight that and then click plus, and it'll put, move this over, it'll put it in the program and subprograms, and then also all of those tunings will be added into the session as well. And you can go into batch mode, for example, here, and you could do, if you wanted to do just specific ones, you can highlight more than one and just do the selected ones. But if you want all of them, you just say all, and it'll move all of those into that session like that. So it's really easy to move everything into the into a session. If you wanted to do a whole program, it can just move everything over for you. Like I said, it keeps everything connected. So the main program, the subprograms, and the tunings are all connected. And if you move these up or down, then it'll rearrange everything in the subprograms and in the tunings in the order that you would prefer to have them. You can also add just a tuning, like say I wanted to have this specific tuning in a particular place, like next to, let's just say I wanted to have it next to a cell salt. Then I could say I want that tuning to go above that tuning or below that tuning. Let's say I wanted to do the calcium fluoride first and then add this one underneath of it. Yeah, of course, it's not going to do it for me today. Oh, I'm in batch mode, that's why. Okay, let's say it was chemical imbalance. And so I put it then above that tuning, which is the calcium fluoride. Or I could put it below it as well. You see? And I'll put it below the tuning, whichever tuning you were highlighted. So those are just some of the things that you can do inside of the measuring window in the analysis. There are a lot more things you can do. Once you've rearranged everything that you want it the way you want it to be, just click Save Sequence. And then next time you open the session, it'll keep all this sequence for you. You can also close this window once you're done, the setup window, the intake clearances, and if you want to turn them back on or off, you turn with this button right there. Just X them out. Gives you more space. You can also pop out the picture, especially working on agricultural stuff. You might want that bigger, and you can make it full size if you want to fit the frame of however big you make it. You can also remove the frame and just have the photo. Some people like it like that. That's pretty much it in the analysis window. So when you don't have to save this, all you have to do is close it, and as soon as you close it, it'll save everything for you. So you don't have to think about whether you saved it or not. And then you want to go to balancing, and this is where it gets really exciting. So I'm going to go to balancing, and you notice I have two timelines here. So this works kind of like a video player or a picture thing. You can put these on the timeline and set your sessions up one after another. So it's running multiple sessions, like in your run multiple session in the previous software, but this is all done visually. So for example, let's say I want to use this first, the one that I just did, if I want to run that first, and I want to do that on my SE5, not on the BOI. I can choose which instrument I want to balance it on, but I'm going to put the first one on the SE5, and then I'll do another one on the BOI. So if you want to see your PSD while you're measuring these things, you can click PSD, and I'm going to measure for how long to balance each of these. Okay, and then press enter, go to the next one, and so that's about 23 minutes. So if I put this on the main display, now I've got two displays hooked up here, and I will, let me see if I can switch back to this other camera. That'll work. Yeah. So now you can see I have two different displays. This is my laptop, and this is a secondary display. And so I'm going to put this particular session on my main display, which is my laptop, and I'm going to add it to the timeline. And of course, you have all these choices. You can run only the positives if you want, only the negatives. And you notice here, it shows you how many of each of the tunings you have and the total number, and then the total time. So I'm going to put this one on my main timeline, and then I'll do this other session that I had going on the secondary one. Let's measure it first. Okay, that's about 13 minutes. Now I want to put this one on the BOI, and I'm going to put that on my secondary display. and I'm going to start it in full screen. So what that means is you can either have it fill the entire screen, which you'll see in a moment. I'm going to add that to the timeline. Or you can have it just as a partial. And the reason we do that is that sometimes there are situations where you will want to have more than one unit and run them all on the same screen. Like, for example, if you're working on just one person, on one client, and you've got 5 BOIs and your SE5, you can actually run a different session on that person on the same screen. You can have all your different instruments lined up and run that. I don't recommend doing that with multiple clients. That's why we have 2 screens. If you're going to do 2 different clients, I recommend having one on your secondary display and one on your main display. Okay, so these are ready to go. I'm going to click play, and it gives me 2 minutes on this one because I waited quite a while. But this one, there you go. That one already started on the BOI over here. And then the other one is counting down 2 minutes. Because I waited so long and I was talking, it bumped it over a little bit because otherwise it wouldn't have started at the beginning. So it bumps it over on the timeline so that it'll start at the right time. So basically all we have to do is wait for the second one to start, and just close your balancing window, and then after, in that timeline, when it starts, it'll start on the secondary display. So as you can see, there are a lot of different, this is like going up to a different level, and I don't know if this software is for everybody. I'm going to tell you that right up front. If you're not working with too many people or too many clients, and you're happy with the original software, there's no real reason to upgrade, really. I mean, the old software is just, it's working fine, works very well. But if these features are something that will save you time, and you're working on multiple clients, and you can do, basically speed up your balancing, for example, in this case, you can run 2 different clients on 2 different screens, things like that. Then the Pro software is something that will, it'll be worth the investment. But it's not for everybody. And tell you that up front. Why would you recommend against running 2 different clients on the same screen? Cross-contamination. This my thing personally. I wouldn't want to have them right on the same screen with 2 different people balancing at the same time. So now that second one started, you see it popped up on this screen over here. So I'm running the BOI on here. Now, if it's the same person, you could run several different programs at the same time on different instruments on the same screen. It's my recommendation. You can experiment with it, but maybe experiment with some plants first or some animals to see if there's any cross-contamination. It's something that is my concern. I can't say 100% that is the case. So I'm going to go ahead and stop those, even though they're not finished. And I did show you already once before with the session manager. I'm going to go to people, and I'll look at my sessions, and I'll go to the session log, and you'll see that this last one I just did, the webinar, and the first session did not complete. But here's a really cool thing. I'm going to show you one more cool thing. There's so many cool things with this. So I go to myself, and I'm going to look at my past sessions. Now, this one did not complete. Let me turn off the PSD so it gets out of the way. The webinar one, I'm going to highlight that. And here I can post that again. So it remembers not only where I stopped, but I can just post that again, and it keeps all of the same measurements that I did over here. So I don't have to go back and remeasure those again. Then I could either just click run now, or I could add it to the timeline again, and it would then start. In this case, this one took up where I stopped it. It took up some of the timeline, so it bumped it forward 22 minutes. I would have to clear that first, clear the entire timeline, and then repost it. And then it'll start in 2 minutes, 1 minute, just 1 minute, it would start again. So that's really a cool feature, is that you can repost it, any of these sessions, and it'll keep the timing. I can post again, see it changed all these numbers over here for me. Then I could just either click run now or add that to a timeline, like on the BOI, for example. Now, you can also, if I add more and more, if I keep adding them to the timeline, you could spread these out. So you could run one now and in an hour and another hour. So you could set these up and run the same session. Let's say you wanted to repeat it every few hours. You just slide them on the timeline and set it up that way. Up here, you can see, let's say if you wanted to move them way out, like 3 days, they're going to be very small, but because these are short sessions, but you could put one up much further. And you can also do that automatically. Tell it to run, you know, every day, for example, for 3 days. You can do all of those kinds of things, like in the old software as well. Down here, you can tell it to run with your light cable, balance with pulse or balance with light, automatic amplitude or manual, or set it at 50. A lot of the features are similar. The image sets, you can add an image set to the session. I have a few of them here that I've done already, and then you just select it. And when I post that one, or run it, whichever I want to do, then it will tell you when it's going to run. And this little pop-up shows you all the different sessions on the BOI timeline, and you could rearrange them. Let's say I wanted to do that one first. I can just move that up first to do the first one. Lots of little features, and I go through all this in the training videos, and just so many things going on, so much. But I really love working with the software. It's so smooth, and just has a lot of features that the other one doesn't have. But it is, you know, this is really pro software. I mean, it's a big step up from the old software. Let's see. Somebody else had a little question. Oh. Okay. Of course, you've got your session manager and your program manager. This is how you would add a new tuning, and you've got your tuning scanner here as well too. So if you want to just create a new tuning, let's say we want to do a new one, and again, we'll just say this one's just going to be a new word, not a word tuning, but a new tuning, and I get a number for it. It put the plus in front of there because I said it was positive, and then you can just save it and it'll put it in there. If I want to do one that's negative, I click negative, and I'll just say new and get a tuning for it. And that one then makes it as a, you see that these are also green and red. Red is negative and green is positive. Oh, screen is not sharing again. Okay. Interesting. It says it is. Okay. Let me stop share and start over. Because, I see. Interesting. I think that's because it's a multiple window thing. I'm going to just do the whole thing. That way you see everything no matter what I've got on my screen. The manager window was a separate window, so it's like a little separate program, so it wasn't going to show it. So that's a session manager. Sorry. Go back to program manager. There we go. All right. Try this again. So this is the program manager, and this is where you can add tunings or delete tunings. If I didn't want this one anymore, I click delete. And please confirm it. I say delete. There's a new tuning. We can delete these. And then if you want to do a new one, you say new. And I would say new tuning. Is that working now? Don, do you want to show that the balancing window is editable? Maybe. Yeah. Could you explain a little bit more in the chat what you mean by that? Oh, yes, the balancing window. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Sure, I'll do that. That'll be really cool. All right. So this would be a new tuning, and I can click on the tuning scanner here. And this, in this case, it's a positive. It adds a plus for me. And then I can save it. It saves. So if I do a negative one, I say it's negative, and we call that a new tuning that's negative. I'll say new tunings. So I'll get a little different number for that one. And then that makes it red. So the positive tunings are in green and the negative tunings are in red. Really easy to see. There are so many features about this. I will let you guys go through the training videos on the school as well, because there's just so much stuff in here that once you start using it, especially like with the clients, for example, I think this is just normal. You can rearrange these by dragging them now and then save the sequence. It's all easier to use. Everything in this whole software is just easier to use than the old one. You don't have to push a little button and say up, 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 and then, move them like that. You can just drag them around. And it's just super, super fast. But let me show you a couple more things. One of the things on the clients, that's something I didn't talk about. You've got your favorites here. You see there's stars here. So if you have a lot of clients, which, when you import clients, I've got like on my real database, I've got like, 50 or 100 clients in there. But you can star them so that they're favorites. If you just want to see your favorites, you click on the favorite list. And then you can set colors for selected clients as well. So the greenhouse, I don't think has a color. Let's call him green for greenhouse. And so you'll see then that they're tagged that way. For each client, you can have a different color. And that shows up in different places, like in the balancing, for example, on the timeline, you can see just by the color which client that is, which is really cool. So that's just one thing. But going back to the balancing window, yeah, I do want to show you how that works. So you notice these are all turquoise. That's my color. And the sample one would be pink. So if I add that to the timeline, then it'll be pink. Let me make that smaller. 6 hours. And just add that to the timeline. So you can see, just by the colors even, which color is which over here. Okay, now I'm going to show you, I'm just going to start balancing a session. And this window here is totally editable. That's what Xenon wanted me to show you. There's a little box over here you can click on, and it gives you options. So you can make this full screen. You can show the window frame or not. There are different options. The counter is really nice. If you turn on the counter, check, there it goes. It also will show you how much is left on the session. But the edit session area here, this is the entire session area, which can be expanded to whatever size you want, because you might want to have your image much larger, for example. Whoops. So you click in the middle to make it smaller or larger, and then the gray bar on each side can move it wherever you want. And you have options of what you want to show here. You can right click here and say, I don't really need the session name in there, or the client name. I just want the tuning and the description, for example. And then your videos will show up here, your tuning image here. And then we also have the image set, which is one or the other will be showing. You can't run videos and image sets at the same time. So you can turn any of these things on and off. You may not want to show the actual names while it's balancing, even though it still goes to the SE5. Let me switch my camera back here too. On the SE5, it still will show the name and the tuning. But if you've got your computer in a room where you don't want somebody to see what's going on, you could actually turn off the tunings as well. So it doesn't show anything here other than the image, and then it sends it to the SE5 over here. It's very, very flexible. There's just so much you can do with this. I'm going to turn these back on. And of course, you can move these around as well and make them larger or smaller. And it's just totally flexible, especially for long word tunings, for example. You might want to stretch this all the way across the screen and put it down here, because that would have your whole sentence in there then. And it'll remember this. So the next time you run a session, it'll come up the way that you left it here. You can reset everything back to the default, and I go through all those kinds of things in the training materials. But go through that one. Let's see. There's some other questions coming in. Okay. How do you delete a client? Oh, okay. Oh, that's very easy. So you just highlight one, like my sample client, and click delete, and then it'll get rid of it. You can modify it, but you can also delete it and get rid of all your clients that way that you don't want. Like if you import all your clients, it might be a lot. How do you add music and audio? That's in the balancing window. So let's say I wanted to add a video or audio, whatever. You can create audio or video in this one. And you can edit that here. Create a new image set if you want for your video set. And we'll just call it new video set 3. And I could put in just the throat chakra if I wanted to, and add that to the set, and then select it so that when I run this session now, it's going to run that particular video. I'll just do that. We'll run now. And there we go. Same with an image set. So Dinshaw chromotherapy. Well, that would be done in the these are great questions, by the way. That would be done in the image set. So in the image set, what I would do is, so this one already has a video in it. And so let me check this one. And let's see, go to a different session here. Okay. I might have to stop that session first. There's another question. Will installing the software on the same computer as the legacy software? No, not at all. No conflicts at all. I run both of them. I've got my regular software down here. And yeah, they won't work at the same time, but no, you can go right back and forth. There's no conflict whatsoever with them. Okay, so so if you were going to run a new image set, that's where you do your colors. So I would create a new image set over here and call it Dinshaw, for example. I don't know if I spelled that right, but I think so. And then you want to go to your colors, find your colors, and there's one right there, and I would add that to my image set. And there's the green. And these were the Dinshaw colors that I had scanned from a set of Dinshaw slides a long time ago. So those are in your image sets that you get. Now I haven't moved over all of my images yet. These are just some samples that I moved over. Okay, so you can also look at view mode and have a just see the names of them instead of just the colors. So, or you can see the colors and then select it. So now when I run this, I'm going to put a delay in. Let's just say 4 seconds, and then run it. Then the colors will go for 4 seconds and change to the next one, and then to the next one, etc. So that's how I would do the Dinshaw colors. Right, that's true, Phoenix. No, sorry about that. No, if you purchase a new SE5, it's going to come with the legacy software. This is Pro software. It's an upgrade, and I'm going to get into that in a moment of what the costs are for the new software. Like I said, it's not for everybody. This is, this is really amazing software, but not all of you are going to need it. But for those of you that want to go up to the next level, this is definitely phenomenal. We've also got an amazing potentizing program, and where you can set up your potentizing, and I go through all of those kinds of things in the training videos. You can do it in virtual mode, which means you just create a potency, and then you can balance it right away, which is really cool. Or you can save them, and let's see, select a client. I'm not going to go through all of these details right now in this one. I had a whole potentizing database in here, and then I'm on my testing software that I'm using just for this. I didn't build up a potentizing program for this, but it's really awesome. It's very flexible, totally flexible. But you can do it to a particular client, or you can just keep, like I have potentized substances here as a client, which then doesn't have a picture. That could be for anybody. Just gonna have a drink of water. And then you can create new a virtual program or new potentizing program, and you can add different potencies in here. Just totally really cool. I mean, it's just a really well-designed, easy to use program. So we could just say test, and then you could do a virtual one and just put in a tuning. Like Arnica 6X or something. And if you wanted to just balance that right away, you can do it right from here, and you just click potentize now. And it starts potentizing, goes over to the SE5. You can also set pulse widths for these. You can change the intensity of the potency now. You can pulse it with different levels of potency, and besides the 6X, but in terms of how intense it pulses the information. You can also set the cycles, and there's just so many cool things. Now, a virtual program is not saved to the database. This is just a virtual one time. You can set it up. You can add more and more remedies to it. You might want to add Rustox or something as well. 3X. And then it'll run one after the other. But this isn't saved. But you can create a new potentizing program and then save it and then call them up as you need them. Can you import a text file into a program? Not sure exactly what you mean by that. Are you asking, can you import, like if you have uh, to create your own program in a text file? Is that what you're asking, Alan? I think that's what you're asking. And the answer is yes. You can import and export things, and it's a little more complex. I will show you a couple things. Somebody asked about in phase or out of phase. That's up to your dial on your SE5. If it's at 0, then it's going to be out of phase. And if it's at 100, it'll be in phase. But I didn't go into the program importing and exporting of sessions and programs, but we can do that. Let's look in the session manager. There are lots of different ways that you can import from your previous SE5 software, which is really cool. Like, for example, if I can get down here. This was my spinal balance program I exported this from my other software. And then it just brings in everything for you. And then you can select a client for it. And I would select myself. And then you can save it to your local database. So now this will add this to my list of sessions, and it migrates all that over. So that's really cool. So you can import and export into your database. And if you do import an external source, you can configure the import format. So that's what you were asking about, Alan. But this is the import configuration. So you can either use tab delimited or comma or semicolon delimited text files. And then you tell each field which one you want it to be. So you would tell the first one to be the description and the tuning and whatever else you have that you want to put in there. So yeah, you can do that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So session manager. I did show you how to do that. You can also, now this is really a really cool thing. If you want to export your sessions, this keeps together everything. So if you have videos or images connected with the tunings in your session, it will bring all of that over when you export it. It'll keep all that information and then import it. So it's a different import. You can't put it into your old software, obviously. But if you go from this software to another person's software, they get the whole package. It's called a package deal. And it's just really, really awesome. Same thing with importing. Another question. Can I put all my work on a USB stick? All your data, sure. Yeah. From that database manager, which didn't open from here, you can back up all your, let me see if I find that. Go back to that database manager. You can back up your databases and you can put them on a stick. Sure, of course. That's definitely the thing to do. I'm not sure why that's not calling up the database manager, but here you can choose different databases, like if you want to work on that one. And that's not actually what I called up the database. Try this once more. Okay, got me going here. There we go. I don't know why it's not finding that. Okay, well, still a couple bugs to work out. But yeah, you can back up your database and and put them onto sticks or whatever, save all your thing. The really cool thing about this is that um, everything is in your SE5 files. And so all your images, all your media, subjects, everything is in a separate folder. And I keep it on a different drive, but you can keep it on the same drive. If you only have one drive, you can keep it in the same directory if you want. When you import all of your clients, it will also bring in all of their pictures as well from the other software. So you don't have to go and do that. And then if you copy over all of your images from your old software into the image folder, any, like if you move your database over, it might have connections to images, then it'll keep that intact as well. So it's pretty easy to migrate it over if you want to keep, everything intact. You can move session by session over, but it would, if you have a lot of clients and a lot of sessions, my suggestion is go forward with the new software. Just move your clients over, and then have them just start the new thing. So, okay, well, if there are any more questions, I'll take those questions, and if not, it's awesome. You guys should have already gotten an email. I had an auto responder thing set up for about half an hour ago, which the cost of the software is $8.95, but for everybody that wants, all the SE5 users, I put in a coupon code in there to save you $200 until the end of January. So if you purchase it before the end of January next year, 2023, there's a coupon code in there for you to use it, and then it'll be $6.95. But after that point, it'll be $8.95, and it will include all the updates. So if you have any updates, if we have any updates, you'll get them, and it's super easy to update the software. I am going to show you that because I just downloaded one the other day. I mean, a little while ago, and so this update, this was like a software setup, and you would get that as the update, and you just double click on it, and it'll usually show things like this. When you get something new, just click on more info and say run anyway, and then it'll ask you to update your software here or uninstall it. But it doesn't affect any of your data because they're in a totally different system. That's why we split the systems. So it'll never affect your data. So you just click update, and then it's done. That's all you have to do to update the software. So there will be some bug fixes, as you can see. That's always the case in any software. How does the scan feature work in analysis? Like a tuning, you mean the tuning scanner? Is that what you're asking about? Yeah. That's not really designed to be working while you're doing an analysis, other than in the word tuning. That's where I would do that. Let me go back to the software again. You can use it in the word tuning area. So you would just switch to the word tuning and put in the tuning that you need, and then scan for it. So let's say I was in an analysis. I'll update mine. And let's use the SE5 tunings this time. So like in here, there's no way to actually change the tunings. Like if you have normal tunings, you can't use the tuning scanner when you're in here, but you can just go to word tunings and then click on new and put in something that you don't know what that's for. Let's say it was for coronavirus or something. And then click on the tuning scanner, and it'll get you the number for that, like that. And then add it to your word tuning. And then you just click plus, and it'll add it over to your into your session, or you could just measure it too. Let's see. Yes, you can use Jan's database on this. Sure. In fact, we actually, a lot of the features in this software were designed to accommodate some of the things that he does that are a little bit different, to make sure that that it works. May I use one software install on each of my devices and the new ones coming? So your question is, yeah, you can use the same software. You don't have to buy one software for each one. If you own 3 SE5s and you're using them on 3 different computers, you just buy one software. Okay, how does that work? Can we use Jan's? Something I was thinking about when I said Jan's database. Yeah, you can just import his database and then, yeah, like Richard asks, is it true that it's just like the legacy software and that we can load it on any of the computers that we want after downloading? Yeah, as long as you're not giving it away to all your friends. I've spent probably close to $50,000 on this software, and so obviously we would like you to purchase it and be honest with it. But yeah, don't give it to all your friends. But if you've already got several units, I know several of you do have several units and several computers, then obviously you can use it on those. There's no software blocking key or dongle or anything like that. You know, I've never had, just so you guys know, I've never had issues with people like stealing software or giving it away or any of that stuff in the last 30 years of working with SE5 people. You guys are like gold. I have a quick little story. I guess it was 2 years ago. I tried some mass marketing for the BioArc disk, and it was the first time in these like 35 years that I was dealing with the normal public out there, because we were having, you know, the 5G thing and all this. And after about 2 or 3 months of this, everybody in the office and everybody said, can we just go back to our normal clientele? It's like dealing with people that are not really wrapping their head around this stuff like we've all done for so long. It's very different. It's a different crowd. So anyway, yeah. So let's see if there are any other questions or comments. I definitely appreciate the questions. They were really good, and comments. If you didn't get that email, look in your junk or spam folder. I know that some of you didn't get my my newsletter announcing this even, and I noticed it went into my own junk folder. So I had to check it and bring it out of there. Yep. Is it ready for shipping? Yeah, it's already, I mean, it's 99.9% clean. You will find a couple bugs like what I did most likely. And we'll get those fixed probably in the next day or two, you know, because the thing is about bugs, we can fix them like in one day, but we don't know exactly where they all are until we do something that is not in a different order, or you know, you do one thing and then a different thing. And so you guys will be using them. This is one thing that's really important. If you do find a bug, tell us like the sequence of things that you did, because I can't make anything go wrong. And yet when I've had my beta testers do it, they did it in a different order, and it'll cause something to happen in the software where there's a little bug. But they're just easy to fix. We just have to go and change some code. So yeah, that email you got, there's a link on there. You can click on it and purchase it and download it, and you can be using it later today. I mean, it's ready to go. And also I gave you Now, did I give that in that email? I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm going to give you, I mean, I think you guys all know this, but radionic.online. Go to radionic.online and sign up. It's a free course for the SE5 Pro software. It's called SE-5 1000/2000 Pro software training. And look for that course. It's probably the last course. You know, I think we have 50 courses on there now between Ludi and myself and Jan. We've got like 50 courses on there. So it's probably the last course because it's the newest course. So just go down to the very bottom of all courses and then you can sign up for free on that. And yeah, awesome. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this is really important, is that I will help you set up the software. If it feels like it's above your level of computer expertise to get this going, that's included in this. I'll give you half an hour setup time to get it set up and running and make sure it's working properly and get your PSD calibrated and everything that we need to do to get you up and running on it. So that's going to be included with this. And yeah, it's awesome. I'm done with the screen sharing. Yeah, if you don't have any more questions, I will get this recording out to everybody that didn't come along. I noticed, I don't remember how many we had in here, but I had over 100 people sign up. But you know, they're in different time zones too. So it's the middle of the night in India and Indonesia. So will this work with all Windows versions? No, it's not going to work with XP. But oh, I see. How easy is cold scanning? That's not something I showed you in there, but it's okay. Let me go back and show you this one last thing because this is really cool. Let's see here. I probably didn't answer that last question, but just look at these for a second. No, you don't have to use the PSD with the new software. It just makes it faster. You just press enter instead of, once you get your stick, you just press enter. So you don't have to use that. Okay, let me just show you one thing. Like in the case of, let's see, let's go in here. In the tunings, you'll find sometimes an XX tuning. And see if there are any in here. Usually under disorders, actually. Go back. Don't happen to know where one is off the top of my head, but you'll find sometimes where you have to cold scan for the tuning. And let me go to something else. There's one. Okay. So you see that it's XX-09.5. So what happens when you do this is that you're going to scan for the XX tuning first to find out what that is. Okay. So 14.8, yeah, is where I got the stick. Now I go back and now I'm going to measure the actual amplitude. You know, if it was mashed fingers, and it puts it in over here on the left side. You see that it took my XX tuning and then it took the actual amplitude reading. Does that make sense? So it's really cool. Yeah, you can give it a week before you get it to get the last few bugs. There are not many bugs left, but we did find a couple tonight. Okay, thanks, Mark. And Kiran, yeah, it looks much more intuitive. Yeah, exactly. A major time saver. Major time saver. I mean, it's just, we're talking, you know, instead of 45 minutes to an hour to do an analysis, it's down to like 20 minutes. I mean, it just goes so fast. Yeah. From clunky to few. Yes, yes. Happy to see you on there. And yeah, if there are no more questions, I will call it a night. It's night here. It's 20 minutes after 10. So thank you, Jeannie. Thank you for that. And thank you, everybody. And it's really awesome. Really awesome to see everybody.